The last conference, 2023, was the largest ever conference in the history of WCs. Around 4,000 delegates from 163 countries. Many observers, sector members participated in this conference. About 1,000 documents were considered during 4 weeks of discussions, including 3 late-night sessions. Regions were quite well presented. You can see regional presentation on the left side of this slide, with some quite large delegation reaching almost 300 people. So a very big conference. What are results related to fixed mobile and broadcasting services? I will start with agenda item 1.1. It dealt with protection of aircraft and ships in international waters and airspace in the band around 4.9 gigahertz from IMT. The background was that the previous conference identified this band for IMT in several countries, in a number of countries, but put quite stringent PFD limits on these IMT stations. And it was so stringent that IMT stations had to be moved from the coast inside the territory of the country up to 500 kilometers to comply with this limit. And this PFD limit was to protect aircraft and ships in international airspace and water, and these were mainly national defense systems. Unfortunately, the conference couldn't conclude on this item, so there was no change or relaxation of this power limit on IMT, and no change in the list of countries which were excluded from the application of this limit. So the protection of aircraft and ships in international waters remain gray area in the radio regulations. Next agenda item was about identification for IMT in 4 frequency bands, 3.3, 3.7, 6, and 10 gigahertz. The results were quite fragmented. You can see the results in this table. With your permission, I will not list all regions and identifications, just to simplify the presentation. So this table in the left column, it contains frequency band, then region, and then conference decision. The band 3.3, 3.4 gigahertz is quite heavily used for radio location. It was the main concern of the countries. As a result, in region 1, IMT was identified in 16 additional countries, mainly African. Only in region 2, there was complete regional harmonization for this band. And in region 3, only 1 country was identified for IMT. As for the band 3.6, 3.8, identifications were made in region 2, subject to protection of fixed satellite service. Concerning band 6 gigahertz band, complete identification of the whole band was for region 1, plus 2 countries of region 2, Brazil and Mexico, and the upper part of the band was identified for entire region 3. And this reflects well the country and regional decisions on how to use this band, for IMT or for airline Wi-Fi. And 10 gigahertz band was identified in 12 countries of region 2. Next to agenda items 1.3 and 1.5, they relate or limited to region 1 only. They dealt with allocation to mobile or upgrade of mobile service. And agenda item 1.5 dealt with UHF band, remaining portion for television. As a result, the whole band was allocated on a secondary basis in 44 European countries. And this secondary allocation will be revised at conference W31. This corresponds, I think, to European decision to protect broadcasting till year 2030. The upper portion of this band, 614, 694, was allocated and identified in 11 Arab states, and I would like to congratulate Saudi Arabia. I saw recent news that it was first country in Region 1 who licensed the 600 megahertz band for IMT. Under agenda item 1.3, the frequency band 3.6, 3.8 was or mobile service in this band in Region 1 was upgraded to primary and identified for IMT in around 66 countries. This chart shows the amount of spectrum identified for IMT since the first identification at conference 1992. It goes from conference to conference, and by blue color you may see the amount of spectrum identified below 1 gigahertz, orange mid-bands 1 to 11 gigahertz, and yellow, these are amounts of spectrum for millimeter bands above 24 gigahertz. As you see, totally around 24 gigahertz of spectrum already identified for IMT, but main part are in millimeter bands. As for agenda 1.4, it targeted the identification of spectrum for HIPS. These are high altitude platform stations used as IMT base stations, and conference identified spectrum below 1 gigahertz in 2 gigahertz band and 2.5 gigahertz band. HIPS quite a new platform, and the advantage is that it requires minimum infrastructure because it uses the same frequencies and the same devices as existing IMT networks. So it would allow to extend IMT coverage in rural areas and maintain connectivity in case of natural disaster. And maybe you remember the case when Google balloons were used in Peru during big floods. I think it was 2017, quite successful use of this kind of technology. With respect to aeronautical maritime issues, there were 4 agenda items considered by the conference. 1.6, suborbital flights. These are vehicles which can fly below and above 100 megahertz, 100 kilometers, and this 100 kilometer is commonly recognized as a border between atmosphere and space. So they need both terrestrial links and space links. And the conference attempted to make some regulations. Unfortunately, no decision was reached on the regulation of suborbital flights. More or less the same results were for use of fixed satellite service for unmanned aircraft, for command and control links of these unmanned aircraft. And the conference hasn't reached any conclusion. It suspended the application of resolution 155 dealing with the issue and instructed to make studies how safety services, which is aeronautical mobile satellite route service, can be used for this kind of applications. Most successful conference was with respect to agenda item 1.7. It allocated band 117, 137 megahertz to aeronautical mobile satellite route service. And the idea here, this band already used for terrestrial links, terrestrial communications between ground and pylons. And the idea here is just to relay these communications through non-geostationary satellite. And this would allow to have communications between ground, air traffic control, and aircraft everywhere in the world, including oceanic and remote areas. Under agenda item 1.9, conference allowed digitalization of HF frequency band. It modified Appendix 27, dealing with aeronautical HF communications. Before, this appendix was limited to narrowband analog system, and conference allowed aggregation of this system and introduced possibility to use digital system. So it will be again beneficial for aviation which still uses HF communications over oceanic and polar regions. Concerning agenda item 1.10, it enabled data transmission from helicopters and drones, and it was done by allocating 2 frequency bands for aeronautical mobile off-road service in 15 gigahertz band and 22 gigahertz band. The first band on secondary basis and 22 gigahertz band on a primary basis. Agenda item 1.11, the purpose was to reflect the recent modernization of global maritime distress safety system in the radio regulations, and it was done. The conference removed quite old technology, which is narrowband direct printing telegraphy for distress and safety, and introduced 2 new systems, which are automatic connection system, ACS, and NAVDAT, which is navigation data system. It also recognized on provisional basis Chinese satellite network Beidou as the third GMDSS satellite provider, and this is on the condition that this network completes all remaining coordination and eliminates interference which were reported. So this conference was 39th conference in the chain of World Radio Communication Conferences, and it's quite amazing to watch how technology was evolving and how the conference followed this change of technology, allowing new services. This chart may show some of them, starting from very simple radio telegraphy devices. In 1927, first frequencies went to aviation, 32 for television, 93, the first satellite conference, 2003, Wi-Fi regulations in 5 gigahertz band. So the next conference will look at the communications at moon, moon surface and between surface and orbit. And 2031 is planning already to consider some IMT frequencies in the band around 200 gigahertz. We can conclude that this conference fully met its objectives, which are accommodating new technologies. HIPS is an example of this new technology. Harmonizing spectrum usage, which is very important, especially for IMT, for economies of scale, and providing regulatory stability and a result to create positive environment for investment in telecommunications. Thank you.